All right. That's like 20 minutes into the show. Let's talk about football, everybody. That's what you're here for. Let's go to our guy, Bennett -Knoll, exclamation point, which I don't know. Is that like, like Yahoo? Like if you tell something like, what's your email? Do you have a Yahoo email address? Nonetheless, he says, good morning, Wake Up Warchant. Can you guys do a comparison of our football team last year and this year and how it stacks up in portal acquisitions versus Arizona State's team from 2 years ago and how they went from 3 wins to making the college football playoff? Do we have a realistic chance to do the same style of turnaround this year? I feel our portal acquisitions were good enough. What are your thoughts? Thanks as always. Now, this was something that, you've mentioned, Corey, right? Like you live in this world now where you'll believe that Florida State can do great things this season because you saw it last year. You saw it in Indiana. You saw it in SMU. You saw it in Arizona State. So with that said, what do you feel about this question, Corey Clark? Because I think this is a good one. I think this is one that's going to be generating discussion on our message boards and for probably the next 8 to 9 minutes on our program. So without further ado, Corey Clark, cameras are on.
Yank. I can't get my hand on yank.
Just press
yank.
the button. Of course.
Yank. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm just hitting the button, and there it started.
Yeah.
Started.
There it goes, everybody. It's generating discussion. It's sparked by Cummins. Check out CumminsLifestyle on Instagram. It's all just one single word. See all the awesome things you can do in your free time, your recreational time. The one thing I do like the kids, they're slang these days, Corey. I like the touch grass. When you kind of a little too online, get out there.
Yeah.
Use the Cummins own and line of products, not only for your RV, but also your boat, which wish I would have known that when I was in the British Virgin Islands last year, down in the boiler room, trying to get this junk generator restarted every other night. But I digress. Wouldn't have that problem if you use Cummins, everybody. CumminsLifestyle, it's on Instagram. Follow them. It's all one word. All right, Corey. So I think the biggest differences I would see here between Florida State this year and Arizona State last year is that Arizona State had a complete wild card at quarterback.
Yeah.
Like Sam Leavitt had not played really any long stretch of quarterback in his career, right? And then Kenny takes a chance on him and they skyrocket through the moon. I don't know if Jordan Tyson, their receiver, I don't know if was scouted any better than Deuce or Squirrel White, but they had a really good wide receiver, and Cam Scattaboo was just on a completely different level of just dog, right?
Yeah.
Like just the absolute dog in them. Defensively, I don't know if they had anybody all that special, but they ran a defense that gave people problems. So I would say I think Kenny might be, and maybe Kenny is him, because what Kenny did to Jordan Travis, what he did to Bo Nix, what he did to the Sam Leavitt kid, where he just pours everything he has into these kids and makes them believe in themselves, kind of, puts the stars aligning for something crazy like this to happen. But I don't know. What do you think, Corey? What they've done, Florida State in the portal so far this year, are there enough different pieces to create something similar?
I think if you went back and looked at, we didn't really answer the question. We're not breaking down the Arizona State roster from 23 to 24. I don't know what their portal ranking was on 3. I don't know that it was in the top 10 or top 20. I don't know. I do know that what they got, it's not lucky. I don't want to call it luck, but it's needed to go have a special season. Is you need special. Like Scattaboo is special. He wasn't just a decent transfer running back, and I don't remember what school he transferred from. And I think it was 2 years prior to that, but it was a really small school, Sacramento State or something. He kind of comes out of nowhere and becomes maybe the best running back in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, he was awesome. And then the quarterback has some special to him, perhaps real special to him, because he was only a redshirt freshman, I think. And for him to have that kind of season and make those kind of plays, that leads you to believe he's going to be really good, and he was good. But and the Tyson kid's a good receiver too. But the special is so needed if Arizona State doesn't have Scattaboo, if they just have a pedestrian 900-yard rusher, that's probably a 7 or 8 win team. It's those special guys that can turn an average roster into a good enough roster. So with that in mind, did Florida State get any special this year in the portal? I don't know. I think Castellanos is special as a runner. I think Deuce has the potential to be special, maybe Squirrel White too. But I would think if you looked at the two rosters from the 2 off seasons that they had, you would think that Florida State's off season this past off season would bode better than what anybody thought Arizona State was going to do last year. I don't think anybody went into last season think Arizona State was on the cusp of something.
Bro, Arizona State's transfer class last year was 66th in the nation. According to On3, they brought in 29 guys. They processed 28 guys out. They were an index score of -17. Florida State had the number 3 portal class, according to On3. They brought in 17, processed 27 out.
Yeah.
They had an index score of +51.
And a lot of that, again, these are metrics that will get more and more refined the more we're used to this life. But, yeah, Marvin Jones got a lot more credit than somebody on Arizona State's defense that actually made plays. You know what I mean? Like Marvin Jones got a lot of credit for being Marvin Jones and being a former 5-star coming from Georgia. Ferguson probably did too, coming from Alabama.
Yeah.
Malik
Sean
Benson.
Murphy. And
all these guys that were 5-stars that came from big schools that didn't have a – so clearly they got both of those rankings wrong. They got Florida State's by a wide margin, but they also got Arizona State. So it's just hard to know. I just keep coming back to, man, you got to hope, not just that you go find some starters, because that's understood. That's a given. You better be going to the portal and getting guys that start for you. Get a guy that stars for you, that is a star. Those are the difference makers, man. Florida State doesn't go 13-0 without Keon Coleman. They don't. They might lose 2 games without Keon Coleman. That's a big war. That's a big wins above replacement. Scatterboo, same thing. Like, so much of it is getting that one piece, that one final, have a nice foundation, and then get 1 or 2 special pieces. And that's what you hope they did with this class. I don't know who the special is. Again, I think Castellanos' running ability is special. I think Deuce could be a special weapon outside. In special by, I mean game-changing, score-changing, season-changing. That's what you look for with not all of them. They're not all going to be incredible, but at least a few of them to go along with some substantial starters.
Arizona State currently 32nd in the portal, Florida State 34th.
Okay.
So including the December window, Florida State now has had 30 guys transfer out, and they've had 16 come in.
Yeah, so that hurts the metrics, I'm sure, that you're -14 and who you've lost and who's come in. You got to assume that'll go up if they land, if it ever happens, a few more kids out of the spring portal window. But yeah, I think these portal rankings they'll be adjusted to be more realistic. But I feel like the early part of portal rankings, so much of, like, I don't know what Trey Benson was ranked coming out of the portal. I don't know what Johnny Wilson was ranked. Johnny Wilson was behind Micah Pittman coming out of the portal. Jeremiah Byers was the number 2 overall player, and not 2 offensive linemen, like the number 2 overall player ahead of Keon. So they're still trying to figure all this stuff out, like the impact these guys will make and how to judge a guy that's been all conference at UTEP versus a guy that's been a backup at Alabama but could be something. Like, they're all still trying to figure this out. But I do think that I don't think Arizona State's roster in 2024 was significantly better than what Florida State has right now. They just had a quarterback that's dynamic and a running back that was an all-time great at Arizona State. They had special, and those are the difference between close wins and close losses.
And a really good wide receiver. That's a stretch.
I feel like he got hurt. He didn't even play the last bit of the season. But, yeah, he was great for them for most of that season.
Yeah. The one thing I do want to kick around real quick on the way out of this segment, Corey, and it's as a kind of an esoteric thing. It's hard to talk about it. It's like my concern. I think what Arizona State had that was special last year too is like Kenny Dillingham being in year 2, and in year 1, like, he wore all the losses on his sleeve. Like, every single week he was kind of featured in some sort of outlandish post game or post practice interview, just talking about, believing in this team and they're going to get it right. I mean, they pushed Washington to the limit in 2023. They were the national runner up.
Yeah.
So then I think when he brings in some of these new pieces in 2024, they saw what he said, like he said, we're going to get better. Trust in me. I'm going to bring in the right guys. And they start looking around. They start having some early success and they build on that. And I think that's kind of what fed into Florida State being so successful in 2023 is because they went through 21 and then they bounced back the way they did in 2022. And Mike Norvell called his shot. But so many of the guys that were in that locker room last year that saw things go sideways that they never would have expected, they're still around this program. And I know there's new guys, and maybe they'll believe in Mike the way that Jarian Jones believed in Mike and the way Jared Verse believed in Mike and the way that Braden Fisk did. But I think there's enough guys in that locker room that went through last year that are still going to be dealing with that. I don't want to call it trauma. I don't want to minimize that word in this day and age, but just they dealt with the pain, the anguish of last year. That, man, if things go wrong and Mike tries to do his message about opportunity and not worrying about momentum, it's the next play. When you see the guys that have been around here a few years maybe slump their shoulders, you as a new guy are like, yeah, maybe they know him better than I do. I don't know if they don't believe in him, like, how should I be believing in him?
Yeah, it's always something you got to battle. And on the flip side, Dillingham now is bringing in players that are not joining an Arizona State program that was 3-9. They're joining a playoff program, and they're expecting immediate success. And if that doesn't happen, as a mercenary college player, which all these kids are now, does that slump their shoulders? And like, well, this isn't what I signed up for. So it's what all these coaches at every school other than Ohio State and Georgia are battling with. And we'll see how they respond. It's a fair point. I do think that at least for the kids that are still on the Florida State roster from last year, yes, the head guy is still the same, but the dude that's designing things that really coaches them, they're new. So that helps maybe a fresh perspective where it's not like you're hearing the same thing over. They didn't just run it back with the same 10 assistant coaches. So hopefully that helps tremendously.
What will help your days off, your weekends, your vacations? Portable power, wherever you want to go, take Cummins with you. Cummins own and power products, the portable generators, have them for your RV, for your boat. What else would you want?